All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the tiny human who's about to cost you a small fortune. Welcome to your financial reality check. And don't worry, I'm going to ease you into this gently. First things first, hospital and delivery costs. Now, you've Googled this already. You've probably seen numbers that made you consider having your baby in the parking lot. The truth is, costs vary widely depending on where you live and what kind of insurance you have. We're talking anywhere from a few $100s to several thousand out of pocket, even with good insurance. Here's what I wish someone had told me. Call your insurance company now, not when you're in labor. Ask them specifically what your out-of-pocket maximum is for maternity care. Get it in writing if you can. And here's a pro tip. If you are planning to have this baby next year, max out your health savings account this year if you have one. Future you will thank present you next year. Now, let's talk about what happens after you bring this little money vacuum home. And yes, I'm calling your precious bundle of joy a money vacuum with love, because that's essentially what they are for the first few years. Diapers alone will run you about $60 to $80 a month. And before you think, well, I'll just use cloth diapers to save money, let me tell you about the hidden costs. That special detergent, the extra water bill, the time you're spending washing them when you can barely find time to shower. Sometimes the cheaper option isn't actually cheaper when you factor in your sanity. Formula. If you're not breastfeeding or supplementing, it can easily cost you $150 a month. And here's something nobody warns you about. Babies are surprisingly picky about formula brands. You might buy a big container of one brand only to discover that your little gourmet prefers the organic imported stuff that costs twice as much. They might just be a foodie at heart. Then there's childcare, which is where things get really fun. If you're planning to go back to work, you're looking at anywhere from $800 to $2,000 a month, depending on where you live. In some cities, good daycare costs more than college tuition. Let that sink in for a moment. I live in the Chicago suburbs, nothing special, and I can tell you that daycare around here is anywhere from $1,300 to $1,800 a month. But here's the thing, and this is important. You don't need to have all this money sitting in your bank account right now. What you need is a plan. Let's create your baby budget, and I promise you this won't be as scary as it sounds. Start with your expected medical costs. If your insurance has a $3,000 out-of-pocket maximum for maternity, budget for $3,000. Don't try to guess or hope for the best. For monthly expenses, here's a realistic breakdown. Diapers and wipes, about $80. Formula or breastfeeding supplies, up to $150. Baby food, once they start eating solids, around $40. Clothing, because they grow faster than weeds, about $30 a month. And miscellaneous stuff like baby-proofing supplies, toys, and all those things you didn't know you needed until you need them, budget another $50. That's about $350 a month for the basics. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That doesn't sound too bad. But remember, this is on top of potentially reduced income if you're taking unpaid leave, and it doesn't include childcare or bigger purchases like car seats and cribs. Here's my approach to building your baby fund. Figure out how much time you have and divide your estimated costs by the number of months. If you need $3,000 for medical costs and you have 6 months to save, that's $500 a month. If that sounds impossible, don't panic. We're going to talk about ways to reduce these costs significantly. The key is starting now, while you still have energy to think clearly and before you're making financial decisions while running on 2 hours of sleep and wondering if that stain on your shirt is baby food or something worse. Look, I'm not trying to scare you. Having a baby is one of the most amazing experiences you'll ever have, but it's also expensive, and pretending that it's not doesn't help anyone. The good news is that with a little planning and some smart strategies, you can absolutely afford this without going into debt or eating ramen for a year. Now, in our next module, we're going to talk about how to get everything you need without paying full price for any of it. Because here's a secret the baby industry doesn't want you to know. Your baby doesn't care if their onesie came from Target or a high-end boutique. They're going to spit up on it either way.